warm welcome to you all. Welcome to Spotlight on Civil Contracting, the show that delves into all aspects of the civil contracting industry here in New Zealand. We're talking today with Ida Dowling, National President for Acenz, the Association of Consulting Engineers in New Zealand. We're going to find out from Ida what exactly is Acenz, what is its mission, some of the history of the organisation and how it affects the civil contracting industry here in New Zealand. Ida, fantastic to have you here. Thank you very much for taking the time to be with us.
Nice to be here. Thank you.
A little bit about the organisation.
Right, so Acenz has been around for probably 30 years now in New Zealand. We were originally a part of the Institute of Professional Engineers. So we identified that the Institute looks after the technical elements of being an engineer, but that there was a real need for an association that looked after business interests. Really stemmed from some challenges in the industry around the way that contracts were managed, the way that engineers and constructors and clients worked together. We felt that there was a real need to support that. Over the last few years, our members have really diversified into a whole lot of different disciplines. For example, most of our larger firms have got architects and planners, project managers, surveyors, all kinds of things. So we look after the interests of a broader professional services market.
So what's the difference between Acenz and an organisation such as Engineering New Zealand?
So Engineering New Zealand manages the accreditation process. They're responsible for the technical elements of professional engineering in New Zealand, while Acenz is more about the business of consulting. So our members are businesses rather than individuals, and we look at more issues around contracts and risk and the types of things that affect the wider industry.
And so what's your tenure in this role?
I'm the president for 2 years. I've just been appointed in August, and I've got 2 years to go.
How many members does Acenz have across the board?
I think we've got about 180, which is about 95% of the consulting engineering firms in New Zealand. We've got a really strong and quite loyal member base.
How have you seen it grow over time?
So the numbers of employees in our firms has definitely grown. We're up to 12,500 people that we represent now.
Is there any particular criteria that you need to have to be a member of Acenz?
So you need to have a code of ethics, and your directors need to belong to a professional association. We'd have a reference checking program where each applicant has to supply 4 referees. We will we'll contact those referees and do some reasonably in-depth investigation to test that our members are complying with good industry practice.
And I take it you have to be an engineer to begin that?
No, you don't. You just have to be a member of a professional association. So some of the directors of some of our firms are members of the Planning Institute, for example, or members of the Surveying Institute, as well as members of Engineering New Zealand.
And so the crux of the matter, this is a series around civil contracting in New Zealand. What's your relationship between Acenz and CCNZ?
We've got a really close relationship. We actually signed a memorandum of understanding at our conference this year. We held a joint conference in Rotorua, and the intention of that was to cement our good relationship that's been built over time. A number of years ago, there was a bit of an adversarial context to the relationship with designers and contractors, perhaps not, seeing that relationship wasn't so strong. But
would that be because both think they're right in a particular situation? Was it?
I think it often came out of project experiences where one was required to carry the mistakes or the errors of another, or that was the perception. Yeah. So where Acenz and Civil Contractors New Zealand have been able to play a role is to work on some standard conditions of engagement, some contract forms that allocate risk appropriately, and address some of the big issues that gives our members a platform to talk to each other about issues that they have.
And so, with the experience I have working with CCNZ and with Acenz, I've seen this opportunity of the two organisations to join together at conference as being a very positive thing. What's your experience of this?
Oh, absolutely. they have better toys than us as well. I think every engineer secretly likes to climb into a digger and see it going. But no, it really has. It's been a hugely valuable experience, and not something that was common in the industry a few years ago.
So if I was to be a member of Acenz, what would attract me to it? What's in it for me?
Well, the big value of being a member of Acenz is that we represent, the vast majority of consultants in the industry. So we're able to use our voice with clients, with contractors to level the playing field, I guess, to take the personal context out of an issue. So our members will often come to us and say, look, we're having an issue with a particular contract form or a particular client, and we're able to go and speak to that client on behalf of the industry rather than it being an individual firm's hobby horse.
Yeah.
We also have a strong voice and connection with ministers, with central and local government, and that we're able to raise issues at an industry-wide level rather than it being, again, an individual issue.
So let's talk about a particular project. If I was going to commission a road, perhaps to be built, where does Acenz fit into the playing field in terms of the design and construction?
Acenz represents, our members are the designers, essentially. We start from, the very inception. We, will write a business case and justify funding for a project. We'll do some initial designs, and then we'll work through the statutory approvals, consents, notices of requirement for that project, and then work with the contractors to develop up that design in more detail. Then we'll get out on site with the contractors and and supervise the build as well. We'll review and make sure that things are being built in the way that they've been designed.
With all the elements of the multiple foci that we have to put our attention to across, whether it's legislation, whether it is liaison with iwi, whether it's elements of the Resource Management Act, in previous years we might be able to be nimble, be agile, jump in, quickly build this road, and it might take a year. Now it's taking 10 years, 15 years, 20 years in terms of planning. How effective can we be as engineers, and how effective can we be in terms of ensuring our infrastructure is built in a timely fashion?
It's definitely a challenge. There are definitely a number of things that tests that projects need to meet before they gain their statutory approvals and then can start to be constructed. There have been some refinements to the Act. The Board of Inquiry process, for example, for large projects is designed specifically to reduce the time frame for consenting big projects. But it's undeniable that it does take a long time.
What do you see here in New Zealand in terms of both take-up of engineering positions in universities and potentially looking at redressing the gender imbalance that we have here in New Zealand?
Well, no, it's a huge issue for us and for all of our firms. We continue to have a strong workload in New Zealand. So Acenz, together with Engineering New Zealand and the Institute of Architects, has got a program called the Diversity Agenda, which was launched earlier this year. And that program has got a real focus on retaining women in the industry and pushing them to senior levels.
What about the elements of equality of pay?
That's a big issue. In New Zealand, we're not required to publish statistics on pay equality. In Australia, they are. There's a similar program called the Male Champions of Change that Consult Australia run, and as part of that, their members sign up to publish statistics about pay equality, and it's been quite revealing. So a number of those larger firms that are in Australia are also based in New Zealand, and many of them are making some real efforts and putting significant investment into addressing that pay gap. But again, it's an ongoing piece of work, and I think there's a role for Acenz, particularly around some of the smaller firms that aren't captured by that bigger program, to publicise the problem and to look for ways to address it.
Yeah. So I'm the parent of a boy and a girl. They're twins, which is a wonderful thing. So we like to benchmark, so we can look at one and go, is that normal? And yes, we can often find out that it works quite well. Bearing in mind that there is a myriad of options in terms of occupation for them or professions, what can I say to my daughter to propel her into a career in engineering if that's what she wants?
I think it starts, it needs to start much sooner than applying for university. By that time, many girls have stopped studying maths or they don't choose science. So it's really important as a parent, I think, to start from the time that girls in particular are very small and give them opportunities to see that science is very interesting and that maths has got huge practical applications, to show girls that understanding maths is valuable, because often they're encouraged to write letters or to be good at English or those sort of softer subjects. So you need to start from the time that they're very much in primary school, because by the time they get to year 13, it's perhaps too late. They have not focused as much on maths and science, and therefore the career of engineering is not open to them.
This obviously worked for you. You're a senior transportation engineer. What was your journey?
Yeah, so I was always very good at maths and science, and I went to an all-girls school, which maybe made a difference. And I had a number of really great teachers who, identified that I had a skill and really supported me, suggested that I do look at engineering as a career. I went along to the open day and I thought, that's exactly what I want to do. And
here you are, you're president of Acenz.
Yes.
So what can we say? If this is a area you wish to go into, there is no stopping you. Just keep on going. So no regrets?
No, it's a fantastic industry. It really is. There's so much to do and to learn. I really love it.
Alongside this, what has been the attitude of the men that you've been training with and working with? Men
in the industry are fantastic. They really are. Everyone's very supportive and very encouraging. There's not an overt culture of, you're a woman, you shouldn't be here. I think the challenge is more in some of the subtle things. So, for example, a male peer might be given the opportunity to lead a project team on site, because the perception of somebody is that, that's more of a man's world on site with the contractors than it is for a woman. So he gets that experience, and then in a few years' time that sort of multiplies. He might be offered an overseas opportunity leading a team in another country, whereas the assumption might be made that a woman needs to stay at home with her family or wouldn't be mobile to work overseas for a long period of time. So over the course of your career, that builds up to the fact that if you have two people of a similar age, the male often have more experience leading a big team, in an international context, which means that they automatically, qualify for the next running on the ladder, whereas a woman doesn't. So it's incrementally, it's just that each level has a slight advantage from a male perspective, right? Yeah. There's also, there's a bit of, behaviour as well. I think men often will apply for roles. They will, they'll speak up and they'll say, look, I feel like I'm ready to take the next step, whereas women don't. And that's something that we do focus on in some of the events that we run and some of the learning programs that we do to give women those skills. How can we combat those subconscious biases that we have from, as a man, I'm sure I'm replete with them. So that's the real focus of the diversity agenda program that Acenz is a partner in. Part of that is working with businesses and with key people within firms to help them better understand some of those unconscious biases. Thank you very much for talking around that. I think it's a very valuable thing for us to have opportunities to talk in a public setting about the elements of gender equality, gender diversity and diversity of thought within our firms. One of the other elements I wanted to move to was the elements of excellence within the industry, and every year we have a
Acenz conference, and at that conference there is, generally at the conference, there is a set of awards, People Awards, and we also have the INNOVATE Awards of Excellence. So I thought we'd sort of delve into some of those. Again, a fantastic look at the excellence right across the industry from this year's awards. What was your impression overall?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a brilliant opportunity to showcase some of the fantastic things that are happening in the industry. You know, I said before, engineers aren't very good at patting themselves on the back, but this is an opportunity to force that. You know, we have a great dinner where our members are encouraged to bring their clients and to bring everyone who worked on a project together. So it's a great way to network and build those relationships, as well as to celebrate the excellence that there is.
So what's the end result for those organisations who receive the accolades? What does it do for them in terms of their firms or their businesses?
Well, it's Acenz. The Acenz Awards are a very well-respected award in the New Zealand industry. They're one of the few awards actually that really celebrate this excellence, particularly in terms of consulting. We've got a really robust judging process, which is, it's very thorough, and we've got a panel of around 30 or 40 experts that put a huge amount of time into visiting project sites, talking to clients, and and really testing whether that excellence has been delivered.
How much execution by the civil contractors who are working on the same project has an effect on the overall win for a
huge amount. So the way that the projects are judged, we don't have categories specifically. The judges look for innovation, look for excellent working relationships, look for where they've delivered to a higher level for their client. In many of those projects, there's a consultant and a contracting partner who are working together, and the reason for the excellence is around the way that they work together.
So the first of those we'll talk around is the Acenz People Awards. They include the Acenz and Tonkin & Taylor Future Leader Award and the Acenz ACOM Best Practical Work Report Award. So let's firstly talk around the Tonkin & Taylor Future Leader Award, and we have a winner, and we've got two finalists within there. Can you tell us a little bit about these particular awards?
The Future Leader Award is one of my favourites. We talked before about the fact that getting young people into the industry is a challenge, and keeping them there and helping them to progress to senior levels is a real focus for Acenz, and it's a personal interest of mine. The Acenz Future Leader Award is an opportunity to really showcase some of those young leaders in the New Zealand industry. It's a great prize, which means it's attractive for people to enter. They win a week at a young leader training program that's run by FIDIC, the International Association of Consulting Engineers. That's an opportunity for them to get together with similar young leaders from all over the world. They work together on a project, they build some really strong relationships, and and learn a huge amount. They're also given a place on the Acenz board, so it's an opportunity for them to put those leadership learnings into practice. One of the great things we found is that the perspectives from that young leader are often, very different from some of the others on the board, more experienced ones. And it's something that we've really highlighted over the last few years, and really asked those young leaders to have a voice, because those new perspectives, different views is a hugely important thing.
Thanks for giving us a good outline of the Acenz Tonkin & Taylor Future Leader Award. The two finalists in this year's Future Leader Award were Thomas Small from Jacobs and Robert Lane from Lewis Bradford Consulting Engineers. But the winner of the Acenz Tonkin & Taylor Future Leader Award for 2018 was Weng Yuan Kam from Becker. Congratulations indeed. So the other set of awards that we have is the ACOM, I should say, the Acenz ACOM Best Practical Work Report Award. Can you tell us a little bit around this?
Yeah, so this is targeted at engineering students. One of the requirements of the engineering degree is that students need to do 800 hours of practical work experience, and they're required to write a report to demonstrate the learnings that they've had. As an association for consultants, that report writing skill is a hugely important one, and this award targets that in particular. It looks at, not only the experience that the students have had, but their ability to convey a message in a clear and concise way. Again, it's an excellent opportunity to meet some of the leaders of the future before they even finish university.
The Acenz ACOM Best Practical Work Report Award for 2018 had 3 winners, and they are Miguel Montalla from the University of Auckland, Matthew Waghorn from the University of Canterbury, and also from the University of Canterbury, Cheryl Wong. Congratulations to all 3. The INNOVATE Awards that we moved to, we talked about the elements of excellence that we see across the industry. You have 3 levels in that. So we have awards of merit, we have the silvers, and we have the golds. What I'd like to do is to delve into the elements of the gold award winners from the Acenz INNOVATE Awards for 2018. And if you can just give us an understanding of what these awards are, and we'll talk a little bit around those winners.
One of the awards was for Ruamoko Consultants. They're a very small consulting firm based in Christchurch, and they had a very bespoke project which won. I think it demonstrates that it's not only the big projects that win these awards, it really goes down to their ability to deliver an excellent and innovative solution. So the challenge was, from the Christchurch earthquake, a very important statue of Sir Robert Scott was significantly damaged, and Christchurch City Council approached Ruamoko to essentially put it back together. It was a huge jigsaw puzzle and very complicated. It had the statue itself has a lot of sentimental meaning, and obviously the community in Christchurch had been through a hugely emotional time. So the consultants were required to reconstruct the statue so that it looked as if nothing had happened. They undertook a huge amount of research to understand how to reconnect elements, how to create the joins again, and they also did some work around a base system that's isolated so that if there's another earthquake in the future, that it minimises the shaking and helps the statue stay intact. The reason that they won the award, their client was enormously grateful and couldn't speak more highly of the interactive way that they worked together, the huge amount of research into this really specialist area that was undertaken, and the fact that the solution is elegant and beautiful.
There's another 2 gold awards. Can you tell us more about those?
One of the other awards was to Tonkin and Taylor, and this was also based on some work in Christchurch that emerged after the earthquakes. They developed a mapping system. One of the features of the Christchurch earthquakes was that the huge amount of the urban area was destabilised and liquefaction was a big factor. Around 140,000 houses were affected, and which is about 85% of the housing stock in Christchurch, so it's a huge task. And Tonkin and Taylor developed a system for EQC to evaluate the level of damage based on a number of geological factors, and then to evaluate, assign a risk profile to those dwellings, and help the EQC to assign a value to the damage. Again, the reason that Tonkin and Taylor were awarded this gold prize was because of the extent of the damage, and the fact that liquefaction is not very well understood in a global sense, and so the work that they've done has really contributed to the worldwide knowledge in this area.
A fantastic win. Once again, congratulations to Tonkin and Taylor for their gold award in the INNOVATE Awards. And our 3rd gold winner.
Yes, so this was to Jacobs Consultants, and it was for the Wairaki Thermal Power Station in the central North Island. Wairaki is an existing power station, and draws on a geothermal base load from the central North Island. Jacobs were asked by Contact Energy to try and get the most out of this existing facility. It had been in operation for around 60 years, so very much one of the first power stations of its type in the country. Another new station has been built online, and that's reduced some of the the steam that comes into Waireki. So Jacobs had to work in a really technical, detailed level around maximising the gas inputs and the gas outputs to get the maximum amount of power out of the station.
So a phenomenal result again, and a perfect example of putting an elegant engineering solution to end up with a fantastic result for the end client.
Yes.
Brilliant stuff. A huge congratulations once again to Jacobs, another gold recipient for the Acenz INNOVATE Awards 2018. And of course we can't go past without saying a huge congratulations indeed to all of our silver winners and all of our Merit Award winners as well. Some fantastic end results there for our consulting engineers with Acenz and the Acenz INNOVATE Awards for 2018. Ida, it's been an absolute pleasure having you here in the studio. Can you just give us a quick overview? What's your wrap-up of some of the things that have happened for Acenz over the course of the past year, and what has Acenz to look forward to over the course of the next one?
Yeah, so I think the two big things for Acenz in 2018 were a new version of the CCCS contract, standard form contract, that we rolled that out earlier in the year and did a roadshow around to our members to to explain the differences and the challenges. And the other big thing that we focused on this year is the diversity agenda, really elevating the understanding of where women are in the industry.
Ida, thank you very much indeed for joining with us here on Spotlight on Civil Contracting. That is Ida Dowling joining us here as President of Acenz for this particular episode of Spotlight on Civil Contracting. Next week, we will be talking with Jim French joining us from Teletrack Navman. In the meantime, enjoy the work. We'll see you soon.